Well, next on the Prep Spotlight, presented by Jacobs Insurance Agency, guy I've known for a long time. Started out at the Lansing State Journal, where I first ran into Geoff, and then he decided to get in with the MHSAA, where he is now the director of communications. Easy for me to say. You think I might be able to communicate, but Geoff Kimmerly, appreciate you taking time out to join us here on the podcast. And we're just super excited about the football playoffs. Our Corunna Cavaliers, the Ovid-Elsie Marauders, who we cover, also doing very well into the Final Four. But this has got to be one of the 2 or 3 times of the year that you guys are just extremely busy with different things going on with the different tournaments. Why don't you tell us, first of all, from your perspective over there in East Lansing, what this week or two has been like and leading up to the Thanksgiving weekend?
Well, this week it is busy, of course, because we have the 16 semifinals across the state. We also have our 2 8-player championship games at Northern Michigan at the Superior Dome. We also have 16 teams coming down for volleyball. Quarterfinals are tomorrow night, so that'll be in Battle Creek. And then we also have our Lower Peninsula girls swimming and diving finals at 3 sites Friday and Saturday as well. So football obviously makes up a big part of why we have a lot going on right now. But we also have some other sports that have pretty big followings as well. And winter sports are underway too. So everybody's kind of coming and going and mixing in over these next couple of weeks. And, really, once we get to Monday, although we're still preparing for things all the way up until Thanksgiving, things do not quiet down, but they do slow down just a smidge. We know, we're heading toward our last tournament of the fall, and we've done this one a few times, so we have a decent idea what we need to accomplish over those couple of days.
Ted mentioned a couple teams. I mean, we've been talking about high school football, the whole state, but we do kind of focus on mid-Michigan a little bit, Shiawassee County, I guess specifically.
Of course.
He mentioned Ovid-Elsie and Corunna, 2 teams that we're definitely keeping our eyes on. Ovid-Elsie is playing their semifinal in Grand Blanc. Corunna will be down in Ypsilanti. For people that don't know, I mean, even myself, the exact process. Can you lay out your guys' formula for where these neutral site semifinal games are, for people wondering, why did Corunna end up in Ypsilanti? Why did Ovid-Elsie end up in Grand Blanc?
Sure. We ask all of our schools at the beginning of a school year what they might be interested in hosting from a playoff standpoint. And then as we get closer during football season, we can whittle down possible semifinal sites. We like to be on turf, of course, because in Michigan, we don't really want to be on frozen grass at the end of November. So that kind of whittles down the group of available places again. And then schools have to want to be available. If somebody's team lost 2 weeks ago, they've probably turned the water off. They've probably turned off everything else that they would need, concession stands, press boxes, what have you. And so that might take that school out of the running. Fortunately, we have a lot of schools that actually do stay open because they're either regulars in terms of hosting semifinals, or they want to be part of hosting a semifinal, having a nice big crowd there, being part of that spotlight, being able to make some money selling concessions and things like that. And we're obviously very thankful for those as well. What happens is we have a decent idea of 3 to 4 options for every possible matchup going into the weekend. And as those matchups are determined, we're able to cross out some that just don't make sense at all for the teams that do advance. Right. Really focus on the ones that do seem like the best option. I think people assume that every school is available across the state for us to put games, and that's really not the case. For example, my local school would have been a great option for a game, but they have their school play this weekend, so it's not a good option because parking would be at a minimum. Just things like that happen all over the state, and we have only so many fields to choose from, and honestly, we're pretty fortunate to have as many as we do.
One of the big kind of changes this year for state finals weekend is the changing of when the divisional games are played. First off, gold star for whoever decided to make that change. It's awesome. What made you guys decide to do that this year? And is it something you think is going to be the case for years going on now? Is that that's always going to be the case, that you're going to be able to change what games are played where and when? Is that
Well, since we were moving the games to Saturday and Sunday at Ford Field because of how the setup was going to be, Michigan State's playing Penn State Friday night, and that was something that was necessitated by TV contracts and the Big Ten having some agreements there. We were absolutely happy to work with MSU and Ford Field to adjust our schedule for this 1 year only. Those are two very, very helpful partners to us. Ford Field obviously hosts wrestling for us as well. Michigan State also hosts baseball and softball and girls soccer. And so, like I said, we were happy to help there. We figured as long as we were moving games to different days, why not try and see what might work better as far as times. We're going to finish with Division 1 on Sunday, in part because most years that's 2 Detroit area teams, and that keeps the audiences closer to home on a Sunday night when people have school and work the next day. Working with Bally's a little bit, Bally Sports Detroit, which has been our partner forever. They were interested in seeing how some games might play at different times of the day. Obviously, not having Division 1 go up against Michigan, Ohio State is an interesting idea. And so the thing is next year, things will be much different regardless, because the college football season will be ending a week earlier. So our games will be going up against the Big Ten championship game,
right?
Instead of Michigan and Ohio State. And that might be a little different as well. But this gives us an opportunity to see how things might be different, see how the crowds might be different. It's hard to say how it's going to look.
Right.
That we have teams, oftentimes in Division 8 on Saturday morning, Division 8 on Friday morning, Division 7 on Saturday morning. We often have teams that are coming in from the UP or Northern Michigan, and maybe not playing them first helps those teams out as well. This is really an opportunity for us to take a look at how all of this looks.
Yeah, I've been to plenty of those 10 a.m. games, and boy, sometimes it's tough when, we're only coming down an hour and a half, but I get it. Some of these other schools, they absolutely have to make hotel arrangements and all that goes along with it. We talked a little bit about the Corunna and Ovid-Elsie angle that we're covering real closely.
Sure.
From your perspective, Geoff, what other storylines should we maybe look for this coming week, Thanksgiving weekend anyway, or leading up to it?
Oh, wow. There's so many. I would first say with Ovid-Elsie, I think it bears mentioning that may have been the biggest stunner in the state over the weekend. I saw Division 6 as being easily the most wide open division going into the weekend. And even then, I think Constantine was the favorite. And for Ovid-Elsie to do on the road what it did, we've seen them do great things before. The Chris Robinson era was like yesterday to me, right? But that one definitely was a stunner. What Corunna is doing is awesome. The Bauer twins are very good. There are actually younger children in that family that go to the Hazlitt School District where I live. And I'm thinking, wow, if we had those two guys in Hazlitt, how good would that team have been?
Right.
But, happy for Corunna. Actually, my high school career ended at Corunna's field. And so I always have a little bit of a weird feeling there, but I've grown to get over that and to be happy for those guys. So, and that's pretty neat for them. They've obviously been very, very good and defeated some very good teams along the way. I think, this weekend people are going to be looking at Belleville pretty hard. Belleville has won 2 straight Division 1 championships, and I think that winning streak is up to something like 35 straight games. So people are just focused in on whatever might happen there the rest of the way. We had 5 teams, I believe, win regional championships for the first time last week, including one of them that started out 3-4. Like Ovid-Elsie and stays alive to this day. So I think you could go in every division and pick out something. Division 8, you have Ubley potentially seeing Whiteford again at Ford Field. I'm kind of excited about that just because I think Ubley is due. They've been to the state championship games 3 out of the last 4 years. Obviously, Grand Rapids Catholic Central and Frankenmuth matching up again. That was a championship game in 2020. Frankenmuth was back last year and lost on a field goal with 5 seconds to play. The Mason coming back and beating Walled Lake Western in overtime last week. Now playing Detroit King, which eliminated them last year. The list goes on and on.
Yeah.
That's what makes this part of the year so awesome. Is every game is good. Every game has a story. We say that all the time, but really, you can't find one that doesn't at this point.
Yeah. Can you talk about? You were laying out a lot of the matchups right there. Let's see, like last week, Belleville, or was it 2 weeks ago? They were a nationally ranked game. It was Belleville and
Saline.
Yeah, they were a nationally ranked game. Last week, obviously, there was national eyes on Rockford versus Davison. Obviously, now Davison and Belleville, people are going to be watching that for sure. And, a bunch of the other matchups that you're talking about right there. How cool it is maybe for you, who works with the MHSAA to see some of the high schools in Michigan that are clearly fantastic programs getting, a little bigger recognition, I guess, outside of the state.
Sure. I mean, I guess it's both ways from our point of view. On one hand, we believe that high school sports are local to their core.
Yeah.
That's what high school sports are supposed to be about. Playing with your friends, playing against the people next door. Our biggest stage is our finals. And we have believed that has been a core philosophy of ours for 100 years. At the same time, it is nice for people to have some appreciation for state of Michigan athletics, football in particular. There was a time there where people felt like Michigan high school football wasn't that great. I'm talking probably 15, 20 years ago. And I think that has steadily faded. I think that people have seen enough from the Detroit area and the Grand Rapids area and the Muskegon area and all the KLAA, up and down 96 and all of these points in between, great players coming from small, tiny schools. My gosh, Jake Witt getting drafted from Ewan Trout Creek this past NFL draft, an 8-player school in the middle of the UP, right? So I do think there's more of an appreciation across the country for the ability. And I think it also speaks to the fact that, where you have some places where kids leave high school to go play in some of these big programs across the country, the kind of the
IMGs of the world,
right? And we've had people do that in basketball in Michigan, frankly. I think the fact that they aren't doing that in football, and let's hope that doesn't start, shows the fact that it means something to win a football championship in Michigan. And it's only getting better, and those eyes are only turning this way even more.
All right. Well, Geoff, we'll end it with Matt's question there. We want to let you get back to your family and get ready for this weekend in Ford Field. We appreciate the time, as always, the cooperation we get from you guys over there, and thanks again.
Of course. No, you guys are doing awesome stuff. I love it.
All right. Thanks, Geoff.
You.
Jacobs Insurance Agency has served Shiawassee County and the surrounding areas since 1977. Just like 3 Point Podcasts, we've had 3 generations: Gary Jacobs Sr., Gary Jacobs II, Brian Jacobs, and myself, Noah Jacobs, serving our community with offices in Waterford and Owasso on M21, just west of Home Depot. Stop in or go online to jacobsinsurance.com to get a quote or get your questions answered by our team. Jacobs Insurance is a proud supporter of our local schools and the proud sponsor of the Prep Spotlight. Insure everything, local, independent, and trusted. It's our family working together to protect yours. That's the Jacobs way.
All right, guys, again, that was fun with Geoff Kimmerly of the MHSAA. And, before we wrap up this segment, let's talk about our 2 local area teams still alive. Corunna picked up, another impressive win, 56-18 over Lutheran North, Macomb Lutheran North. Jaden Eddington continues to really carry the football, tied a school record with 5 rushing touchdowns, almost 190 yards. Tarek Bauer, a nice 89-yard touchdown pass from his brother Wyatt. Just again, a complete team victory, and it's Final Four time, a game away from Ford Field. It's just amazing.
Yep. And we've said before that you never know what's going to happen in the playoffs, but this team, the way they're playing right now, I mean, you can't etch it in stone that they're going to be at Ford Field, but they're playing at such a high level that if it feels like if they play their game, like they have been, we'll probably be seeing them at Ford Field. But, you never know what's going to happen. So hopefully they're not taking anything lightly, which I'm sure they're not.
Yeah, I can't really even add much. I mean, it's kind of the ultimate compliment when you're so good, you get kind of bored talking about them. I mean, it happens to us with Michigan football every once in a while, but somehow the national media finds new ways that we can talk about that. But no, so yeah, what more can be said? This team is a wagon. They seem to have their eyes set on that state title. They're taking it week by week. They haven't really had any letdowns in any way, really, this whole year, other than maybe a quarter against Hamity. So what more can be said? They know what they need to do. We're just here along for the ride. We're enjoying it.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to go through the tail of the tape, but this has been a record-setting season. At least 8 individual records have been set on this team for the school history. It's just amazing. It starts with the Bauer boys, but Jaden Eddington tying the record for most touchdowns in a game. Their kicking game. I don't have the official stat, but Braden Anderjack has to have the record for most PATs in a season, 68. I mean, when you put that many touchdowns on the board and he's almost flawless kicking the ball, that's got to be a record along with for the career. So it's just amazing what they've done. And, the biggest record they want, obviously, is that big one at Ford Field. And I guess time will tell. It's funny, Steve Herrick, he preaches it to them. The team believes it every single week. They scratch the game that was just played and they focus on the next game and they say, this is this week's Super Bowl. That's how they preach it. And I think that's a great way to look at it. This next semifinal games, there's Super Bowl coming up. But let's quickly.
Got to. I was just gonna say got to, because they started off with Hamity in the playoffs, and a lot of people were talking about because Hamity was undefeated.
Yep.
But the big thing was going to be if the teams won, it was going to be that game against Notre Dame Prep. You can't look ahead to that. Now, after they beat Notre Dame Prep, it's kind of the big thing is going to be what Grand Rapids team, either West Catholic or Catholic Central, makes it out of their game. You can't look past all these stuff because Flat Rock coming in, they're a good team. I mean, they're kind of on a dream season type of run right now. Not a traditional making the playoffs every year like a Portland or something like that. Flat Rock, I think I looked it up. They've made it the last few years, but before that hadn't really made the playoffs since like 1990. Right. So they're on a super cool run right now too. So even though Corunna has all the stats and all the records, everything you just laid out, this Flat Rock team probably is super confident too and believes they can go in there and win. So it'll be. I'll be curious to see how that game goes.
As Jared likes to say, I mean, the team that is at the cream of the crop has to have a quarterback. And, this Flat Rock team, again, has a really good quarterback, just like Pontiac Notre Dame had. This kid threw for 250 yards, 3 touchdowns last week, 21 out of 27. I mean, big time numbers, and they run the ball too. Their running back had 200 yards and 5 touchdowns. So, they pass, they run. We'll see if the Cavalier defense can be up to the task again.
My favorite part of it, they have the old school Rams helmets.
Yes.
And their running back, Ted, I know you'll appreciate this, number 40. It's like something out of your generation. It's like Darren Sproles. So just keep an eye on that. Number 40, little scat back. Kind of a fun little player.
Yeah. Also, before we wrap this segment, let's say kudos, just like Geoff did. Ovid-Elsie over there, maybe they don't look at it as a big upset, but I think probably 95% of this state looked at that score and what that result was and said, oh my goodness, Ovid-Elsie pulled an upset. A bit of an upset without a doubt. They're 8-4 now, but they beat number 2 Constantine 38-25. That was the Marauders' second regional championship in school history. Of course, the Chris Robinson team made it to the state finals and lost out to, I think, was it Muskegon Catholic Central? My memory fades a bit, but it was a Muskegon school. And their running back, Clayton Frucci, we talked about it with Travis Long. Big game, 206 yards, 3 touchdowns, had a touchdown catch. Our main man, quarterback, Trace Tokar, 11 of 16 in the air with a couple of TD passes. I mean, the broader defense led by Brock Spitzley, who had 13 tackles, also had a fumble recovery. And sophomore Braxton O'Brien had a couple fumble recoveries. So sounds like, not being at the game, both sides of the ball, they came to play, on the road, on grass. Big win by the Marauders.
It is a huge win, man. I feel like I'm in like the twilight zone. I feel like I got transported to like your generation, Ted, or something where the local teams, man, powers on the state level. It's awesome. I mean, Constantine, That's a
know.
legit program. Good year in, year out. I don't know the ins and outs of their team, but they're solid. I think they were unbeaten going into that game, or maybe
yeah.
just one loss. I mean, what more can you say? I mean, they're a game away from Ford Field. D6, like Geoff Kimmerly said, it's as open as any division. They could win that thing. And what were they,
Sure.
3-4, and they've won 5 straight? That's the
Yeah.
craziest part. They're playing tough teams in this region, man. This team had this area had some serious football this season.
Absolutely.
Can't say that. 9 out of 10 years, you can't say that.
This
Well,
is the
like
best
you
I
said-
think I can ever remember in this area.
Yeah, they started their run out with beating Shiawassee County killer Lansing Catholic, as Jared likes to point out all the time. So I mean, their run started there, and they get to play at that nice new facility in Grand Blanc. They play Almont, so I know
Yeah.
the experts. Some of the people that we've had on the podcast, they're predicting Almont to get that W. But hey, man, Ovid-Elsie's been pulling upset after upset, and they just, like you said, Jared, they just beat Constantine, so they should. How cool would it be for Corunna and Ovid-Elsie to be at Ford Field? That'd be pretty awesome.
It'd be incredible. Well,
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. Good luck to the Marauders for sure. I will
Would
tell you
there-
this. They're going to travel well. They're going to be over there in Grand Blanc in force. And I know Corunna is going to travel, even though a few people are complaining about that they had to go to Ypsilanti instead of Chelsea. But so what? Go down there, take care of business.
Yeah. So 2 questions or two comments real quick before we tie this off.
Yeah.
Is there a chance that the Castle that you guys, if Ovid-Elsie makes it, and of course, if Corunna can make it, that you guys would call both games?
There's a chance. I mean,
I don't remember when the D6 final game is.
It's a problem that they've never had.
We've had it. We've called 6 games from Ford Field before.
Oh, wow.
6 of 8 state championships. So it's happened. Now, the only problem is, Ovid-Elsie will have their own station there, which is cool. They do a nice job over there covering their school. The problem is we have to do such a quick turnaround on getting sales, produce the commercials, do all the admin work. It's Jared, you were talking about your job today was kind of hell. Can you imagine with a one-man sales force and, you got very limited staff trying to put that all together on Thanksgiving week?
For sure.
That's the tough part.
It'd be busy. I didn't know if that conversation had maybe come up at all.
Oh, that conversation has happened before, and it's still a possibility. It could possibly happen.
Yeah.
I mean, you did get a hotel, man.
The other thing I was just going to say quick, I know texting some friends, they're already talking about a tailgate down there in Ypsilanti. So you mentioning Corunna is going to travel.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if there's going to be anyone left in Corunna Saturday afternoon.
Probably.
And can
not.
I just here's the thing. I don't know where the news came that we were going to be playing at Chelsea. Wherever it came from, Ted, you were spreading the fake news. I know it's not your fault.
I did.
I don't know where it came from. But the people who are acting like the world is ending because this game is taking place at Lincoln High School or Ypsilanti, whatever consolidated schools, instead of Chelsea, it's like, what are we even talking about? It's like, enjoy the drive. If anything, that drive, it's like makes it feel big time, man. I mean, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Especially if they do a caravan, a bunch of people meet at the high school and follow each other to the field. That stuff is cool.
Yeah,
exactly.
It was a faux pas by me on the air without a doubt, but it was, it was reported in the press box. So, and that was, I was already on the air. So what am I going to do? I don't have time to check sources. So it's just the way it goes. I
mean, hand up. I fed you that from my source in the press box, which I gave him some shit. I told him, I texted him and said, hey man, Ted's got a bone to pick with you.
Yeah, you can cut this segment. You don't have to raise your hand up. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I don't care.
All right, guys, good stuff on the Prep Spotlight. Again, we want to thank Jacobs Insurance Agency for sponsoring us, and we'll get to all the hot topics in football. Got a feeling we might talk a little Jim Harbaugh. Got a feeling we might talk a little Detroit Lions, and it'll all come up right after this.